Hey guys, this is your February 9th tutorial. Make sure you have filled out this attendance link so that we can count you present for today. Reminders is to complete your escape room that we're going to do together. That's what we did in class today, so we'll do this together in the tutorial. So it'll turn it in once you get it done. Keep working on that Punnett Square vocab because it's due on Thursday, and also you will have a Punnett Square quiz on Thursday, so make sure you're familiar with the vocab like homozygous, heterozygous, phenotype, genotype. All those words are so important in understanding how to even set up a Punnett Square. So make sure you know your vocab. We are going to go under the classwork tab and get out our copy of this breakout room. We will essentially answer 4 questions and then try to crack the code for each set of questions. And there will be different puzzles that we'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and get my copy out. And yours looks exactly the same, just like this. And you'll see on the first page, these are the first 4 questions. And inside of each little corner, there's a lock that has a number 1 on it because these are the questions for the first puzzle or to crack the first code. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Question number 1. Which of the following terms refers to a variation of a trait? Well, if you have a trait, each variation of it, you can either have a dominant form or a recessive form. And those are examples of alleles. So you can have a dominant allele or a recessive allele. So you'll need to grab your little circle and highlight B for allele. Question number 2 says, which of the following represents an allele? But I just told you that an allele has a dominant form and a recessive form. So it can have a capital letter, which represents dominant, or a lowercase letter, which represents recessive. G, H, and I are all 3 genotypes. Those are allele combinations. We want to know what just represents an allele. And we know you can have a dominant or a recessive allele. So answer choice J is correct because it says both choice E and F represent alleles. Question number 3 says, which of the following represents a phenotype? Remember that a phenotype is a physical trait. It's a trait that you can see, like brown hair, freckles, blue eyes. It's not going to be that allele combination or the genotype that's like big T, little t. You can't look at somebody and see that combination. A phenotype is the physical trait that you can see. So, homozygous dominant, heterozygous, homozygous recessive, and big C, little c are all examples of genotypes, right? We need a phenotype, so that would be curly. You would be able to see if someone had curly hair. And question number 4 says, which of the following terms would be used to describe a genotype of little g, little g? Well, we know little g represents a recessive trait because recessive is represented by a lowercase letter. And when you have 2 of the same letters, you use the word homozygous. So put it together, we have a homozygous recessive genotype here. So we're going to highlight answer choice X. Okay, so now that we've gotten our 4 answers, we're going to look at our puzzle that we have to solve. So what we're doing is we're looking at our first question we did, and we're going to see what answer we chose. So let's look. Question number 1, we chose B. So to get to B, you start over here on the side. To get to B, we have to start in the top. We go 1, and it's in the second box. So we went 1, and it's under 2. So I'm going to type in my code 1, and then 2. And if you need help or instructions on like how in the world did she figure out that's what you're supposed to do on this puzzle, the directions are down here in the comment box to explain how to use the puzzle. Okay? All right, number 2, we chose J. So to get to J, we have to go in this row, so row 2, all the way over into column 5. So we went 2, 5. So that's our next part of our code. 2, 5. All right, let's look at our next question. We chose T. Well, my T is all the way over here. So to get to T, we go first to row 4 and go all the way over to 5. So it will be 4, and then 5. And then the last answer choice we have was answer choice X. So when we look at our table, it's right here. So we go from 5 into column 4. So 5, 4. Now, before you can move on to the next puzzle, we want to check and make sure we're right. We don't just want to type random answers in and hope that we're right. So under your classwork tab in Google Classroom, you'll also find a Google form that looks like this, Heredity Crack the Code. Okay, so this is where you're going to type in your codes. Once you type in your code in the first box, if it is incorrect, it'll tell you that. So I'm just going to type in some random numbers and move on. It says still locked, so that's the wrong answer. So I'm going to go back and see what we got. We got 1225, so Christmas, 1225, 4554. So let's see, 12, 25, 45, 54. Let's click enter and move on. It let me move on. It doesn't say it's incorrect now. So we're done with puzzle 1. We can move on to puzzle 2. So puzzle 2. See my locks that have a 2 in it? That lets me know I'm on to puzzle 2. Question 1. Which of the following represents a homozygous dominant genotype? Homozygous means you have 2 of the same alleles, and if those alleles are dominant, which is a capital letter, you'll have 2 of the same capital letters. So big T, big T. Question number 2. In pea plants, yellow seeds are dominant to green seeds. So that means green seeds are recessive. Which of the following would be a genotype of a plant with green seeds? So if it has green seeds, it is recessive. There is only one genotype that's going to give me green seeds, and that means I have to see 2 recessive alleles. So little g right there. So I'm just going to highlight the little shape here so I know what shape I'm going to be looking for. Question 3 says in guinea pigs, brown coat color is dominant to white. So white is recessive. A white guinea pig would have a blank genotype. Well, in order to have the recessive trait, you got to have 2 recessive alleles. So it's definitely going to be homozygous recessive. So that's the answer choice down at the bottom. So we're going to highlight that shape. And then question number 4, which of the following represents a heterozygous genotype? Heterozygous means you have 2 different forms. So one dominant, one recessive. And we see that all 3 of our answer choices here are one dominant and one recessive. So our last answer choice that says all of the above will be correct. So now we've highlighted our answers in these different shapes. So let's see why these shapes matter. It says use the cipher above to determine the code that unlocks your next challenge. So let's go back and look at our different shapes that we chose. The first one kind of looks like a flower with really like thin heart petals. So I'm going to find that shape over here. And there it is. And it goes with number 14. So I'm going to do 1, 4. And then question number 2 shows the kind of puffy flower. So that goes right here with number 10. So I'm going to type in 1, 0. All right, question number 3 was this weird looking one. I don't even know how to describe that to you, but it's right here, 15. So 1, 5. And then our last shape was like a diamond. So we're going to go, our diamond is number 8. So we have got the code here, 14, 10, 15, 8. So let's try it out. 14, 10, 15, 8. There we go. We got it right. It lets us move on without telling us it's incorrect. So good. Let's hop on to puzzle number 3. It's got a 3 in the lockbox. All right. Here we go. Question 1. In humans, freckles are dominant to no freckles. Which of the following phenotypes would be expressed? So what trait will we see if someone has a heterozygous genotype? Heterozygous meaning 2 different forms. So they hold one dominant allele and one recessive allele. even though they carry that recessive allele, it doesn't matter because dominant always masks it. So even though it might be heterozygous, it's going to show the dominant trait, which in this case is freckles. So the phenotype or the trait that we are going to see will be freckles. All right, question number 2. In pea plants, tall plants are dominant to short plants. A plant that is homozygous recessive, recessive meaning lowercase, homozygous meaning two of the same, that means that its genotype would be two of the same lowercase letters. It's going to show the recessive trait, which in this case, tall is dominant, short is in fact recessive. So if it has a homozygous recessive genotype, we're going to highlight choice G. All right, to number 3, in mice, brown hair is dominant to tan hair. A mouse that has homozygous dominant as their genotype are definitely going to have the dominant trait, which is brown hair. So we're going to circle answer choice J. Okay. Now question number 4 says in pea plants, smooth pods are dominant. So a plant with a genotype represented by little s will have what kind of pods? Well, if smooth pods are dominant and I see little s, I know I'm not going to have smooth pods. I'm going to have the recessive version, which in this case is bumpy. So we're going to highlight choice N. We've got our 4 questions done. Let's check out our puzzle. All right. So here we got a bunch of little ropes and numbers and letters. So let's look at number 1. We got A. So our first answer choice is letter A. So let's look at letter A and follow its rope all the way through, and it brings us to number 5. So I'm going to type 5 in for my code because my first answer choice was A. I followed its rope. It gave me 5. My second answer choice is G. So I'm going to follow G's rope all the way through to number 4. So I'm going to type in 4 here. My next answer choice was J. I'm going to find J. Follow its little rope. Oh, this one's tricky. All the way to 11, it looks like. Let's hope I'm following them correctly. That would be embarrassing if I wasn't. And then question 4 is N. Let's find N. Let's follow that long rope to 8. All right, so it looks like we have 54, 11, 8. Let's try it out. 54, 11, 8. All right. All right, and now our next puzzle, it says all caps, and they have to be letters. So let's check this out. We got this one done. Let's move on to puzzle number 4. So parent 1 has a homozygous dominant genotype. So big R is parent 1. Parent 2 has a heterozygous genotype. So they'd be big R, little r. Which of the following represents the genotype of parent 2? Heterozygous means 2 different alleles. So we're going to see 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase. Question number 2 says, in a flowering plant, red flowers are dominant to white flowers. If a homozygous dominant, so big R, and a heterozygous flower, big R, little r, are crossed, which of the following is a possible genotype for the offspring? Well, since that first parent was big R, they can only offer a dominant trait, so no matter what, the flowered plants that are created are going to have at least 1 dominant trait. And since the other parent was 1 dominant, 1 recessive, their 1 dominant can match up with one of their 2 dominants. So it would definitely be big R, Got a little crazy with my clicking there. All right, question 3. In pea plants, purple flowers are dominant to white flowers. So true or false? If a heterozygous pea plant, so big R, little r, and a plant with white flowers, which is recessive, so little r, if they are crossed, homozygous dominant is a possible genotype for the offspring. Well, to be homozygous dominant, each parent has to carry a dominant trait, right? So one parent is heterozygous, so that parent definitely carries a dominant trait. But this parent is white flowers, which means they're purely recessive. So there's no way that they could have another flower created that would be purely dominant. So that's going to be false. And then question number 4, in rabbits, gray fur is dominant to white fur. So true or false? A cross between a homozygous dominant, so big R, and a white rabbit, little r, would produce offspring with a heterozygous genotype. That's correct, because the first parent can only offer a dominant, the second parent could only offer a recessive, so all the genotypes would be one dominant, one recessive, which means heterozygous. That is, in fact, true. Okay, so we got our 4 answer choices. Let's check out our puzzle. Okay, so it looks like we're looking for shapes here, or like borders or outlines. So let's go back. Question number 1 had a square with a dot down in the middle bottom. So I see dots over here. That's not a square because it's not caged in. Neither's that, neither's that. Only one of these is a square right here. And it does have a dot in the bottom, so it represents letter N. So the first part of my code, I'm going to do letter N. Okay. My second one looks just like a plain box, but there's no bottom. Okay. So I'm looking for a plain box, looks like letter H here, with no bottom. So I'm going to put in H for my code there. Number 3 looks like it has a top and a right side, but that's it. So a top and a right side, I'm going to go with G. So we're going to type in G there. And then our last shape is the left-hand side, top and bottom, but no right-hand side. So left-hand side, top and bottom, but no right-hand side. I'm going with F. Let's see how well I did. NHGF. And it says to use all caps. NHGF. All right. Number 5, all caps as well. Let's keep rolling. All right, number 5. Question number 1. If a tall pea plant, big T, is crossed with a short one, which would be little t, which of the following could be a genotype of their offspring? Their only possible genotype is a big T. So we're going to go with big T and highlight the word excited. Question number 2 says, in some chickens, black feathers are dominant to white feathers. In a cross where you have a homozygous dominant, so we'll say big T, and a heterozygous chicken, which is big T, which of the following is not a possibility? Well, I know for a fact I cannot get a purely recessive chicken out of that because the first parent had all dominant traits. They didn't even offer a recessive trait. So my recessive trait here was white feathers. So I know for sure I can't get a chicken with white feathers. So right there, a white chicken, I know that's not possible. We're going to highlight the face or the expression shocked. Question number 3, in guinea pigs, short hair is dominant to long hair. So in the cross between a heterozygous guinea pig, big T, and a guinea pig with long hair, which is recessive, little t, which genotype would not be possible in the offspring? Well, there's no way that they can have a completely dominant guinea pig because one of the guinea pigs was purely recessive. They didn't even offer a dominant trait. So there is no way that I can get a purely dominant genotype. So there we go. And then question number 4, in sheep, belly fur, capital B, is dominant to no belly fur. So parent 1 will be heterozygous, big B, little b. Parent T does not have belly fur, so that's recessive, little b. Would it be possible for the offspring to have no belly fur? Well, sure, it could have no belly fur because parent number 1 is heterozygous, which means they have one capital letter and one lowercase of no. Absolutely, that is possible. So we're going to highlight angry. So now we have all these emotions. What are we doing here? Oh, we're finding the face that represents the emotion. Number 1 is excited. If I'm excited, I'm pretty happy. I'm going to go with B. B looks like a pretty excited guy here. So let's go with B. Number 2 was shocked. I think C looks shocked. A looks pretty shocked too. I don't know. We're going to put C or A because I really feel like it could be either. Alright, number 3 is sad. That one will be easy. Which guy's sad? H is pretty sad. We're going to go with H. And then the last one I think was angry. Yep, angry. Oh, that's definitely F. F is angry. So we're going to try that one for shocked. I really think it's C instead of A, so we're going to try C first. B, C, H, F. Let's see. B, C, H, F. Yep, that was right. Okay, cool. So your codes were B, C, H, and F. Moving on to our last round. Question 1. In sheep, white wool is dominant to black wool. Parent 1 is homozygous dominant, so big W, big W. Parent 2 is heterozygous, so big W, little w. What percentage of the offspring from this cross will be black? So black is recessive. If one parent is homozygous dominant, there's no way we're going to have any purely recessive sheep here. So it's definitely going to be 0% here. Question number 2, in some seals, long whiskers, capital L, is dominant to short whiskers. So which of the following ratios best describes the results that could come from a cross where you have 2 seals with short whiskers? Well, short whiskers is recessive. So if you cross 2 recessive short whiskered seals, you're going to have all short whiskered seals that come from that. So you need to have all short whiskers, no long whiskers, because there's no dominant alleles even present. Question 3, in some tulips, red, big R, is dominant to pink, little r. If 2 heterozygous tulips are crossed, so big R, little r is crossed with big R, little r, what fraction of the offspring will in fact be red, which is the dominant trait? You will have a big R in 3 out of 4 of those boxes, so that's about 75%. We'll highlight J for 3 out of 4. And question number 4, in some pine trees, short needles are dominant to long needles. If you have 2 heterozygous plants, what are the possible genotypes? Well, you're going to have a big mixture. You can have all dominant. You're going to have 2 heterozygous plants with big S, little s, and then you're going to have 1 recessive purely. So that is going to be answer choice P. So we got our questions answered. Let's look at our puzzle. Holy guacamole. Okay, so first answer is B. Let's look here and find a B. There's a B. All right, let's follow the rope. See what number it leads us to. Number 1. So 1 is my first number here that I'll put in my code. Number 1. All right, number 2, we got H. So I'm going to find H all the way over here. I'm going to trace my line all the way up and over to 7. So 7's my second number. Question 3 was J. J is right here. Let's follow this line to number 2. And then our last answer was P. Here is letter P up here. Let's follow the rope. Gets kind of tricky. Number 2. So it looks like our code may be 1722. Let's see. 1722. Yep. Oh, we have one more puzzle. I thought we were done. We have one more puzzle. Sorry. All right, here we go. Last puzzle. Puzzle number 7. In some cats, long hair is dominant to short hair. In a cross of 2 cats, 50% will have long and 50% will have short. So what could be the parent's genotypes to get those results? So you have to look at what's going to produce half probability for a recessive and half for a dominant. The parent at the top who had the long hair, definitely you have to have it as a heterozygous combination. So when you drop this big L down in your Punnett square, 2 out of 4 of those boxes are definitely going to have the dominant trait. But then if you're carrying a recessive and it matches up here, then 2 of the other 4 boxes will be purely recessive. So these 2 have a dominant trait, so they're dominant. These 2 would have recessives, so 50-50, that would be answer choice C. All right. Question 2, in some plants, red flower color is dominant to white. If all the offspring from a cross produce white flowers, which is recessive, all of the parents have to be recessive too. So that would be little r versus little r. Question number 3, many individuals are capable of rolling their tongue, which is dominant. However, few people can't. If a mother and a father have children that are not able to roll their tongue, so that's recessive, which of the following could not be a genotype of the father? Well, if the father's purely dominant, then they have to show the dominant trait, which is rolling the tongue. Their kids can't roll their tongue, so big R definitely can't be a genotype of one of the parents. And then question number 4, in humans, free earlobes are dominant to attached earlobes. The mother and father have a family of 10 kids. Wow. 75% of the kids have free earlobes, which is dominant, and 25% have the recessive version. So what could be the parents' genotypes? Well, if both parents are big F, little f, like this answer choice here, then that means you have one, which is big F, big dominant, be V, answer choice V. All right, let's look at our very last puzzle and figure out how we got to do it. Holy guacamole. All right, we're starting at start. Our first answer was C, so I'm going to follow the arrow to C. C brings me down to G, and G can either go to U or R. Okay, so C brought me down to G, but G can bring me down to U or R, but it looks like our answer choice was R, so we need to follow that route. So we go start to C, to G, to R, and R can only bring us to V, which was good because all right, 2, 7, 8, 6. 2, 7, 8, 6. Let's put it into our code. 2786. Next. Yay! You successfully completed the breakout. Winner, winner, winner. Chicken dinner. Good job. And enter your name. Miss Joseph is amazing. And submit. Alright, so that is what you had to do in class for today. If you still have questions about this information, make sure you reach out to your teacher so we can help you.